This is a crazy killer clown story, 3,200 words. There are a couple things I know I need to add to this. There are supernatural elements that I don't lean into very much in the story, but because of how the action plays out, I think I need to touch on those things again to remind the readers that it is a supernatural creature we're dealing with, and I need to extend the ending a little. The way I ended it, I don't have the mother character confronting the daughter again near the end, so I need something down there to address that. Aren't all clowns supernatural? They got some kind of power, that's for sure. All right, so this is Pound Foolish by J. Wilburn. David screamed all the way up the hall to his mother Maggie's room. It was blood-curdling as usual, and Maggie, let me put a comma there, and Maggie hoped not for the first time that the neighbors would sleep through it and not call the cops. No cops had been called since the kid's father had left for good, and that's how Maggie liked it. All right. At first, I didn't like that line. I wanted to indicate that she was single, so no one was asking why the father wasn't here doing something about it. And that kind of flowed naturally there in the first paragraph, but then it also implies that maybe she was in some kind of abusive situation or something like that, which I didn't necessarily want to lean into. But because of the way the story works out, it's not a bad character point for later. So for now, that's the way the story needs to go. She had time to turn on her side table light and sat up as little David burst through the door. She had, no, I just need one had. We're going to save up some hads here. I'm not going to use all of them. She had her arms out and he barreled into them. The edge of her mattress only absorbed part of the impact. As her eyes adjusted, past tense, to the light, she checked him for any real injuries. She didn't expect to find any, but there was always a part of her that knew the first time she decided he was faking and needed to be ignored, he'd really have a life-threatening something going on. That was her kind of luck any time she let her guard down. Let me put in a dropped word here. And Maggie never let herself forget that. Okay. All right. He blubbered through his tears, and she let him wind on for a while. It quickly became clear that he was winding up tonight and not down. Maggie took his little head in both her hands by his warm cheeks and gently forced his head away from her right boob. She used her thumbs to wipe the most recent tears from under his eyes. This tended to calm him at least a little and gave a signal it was time to, I've already said calm, so let me change this, to chill out and explain his current terrors and sorrows as best he could. Okay, she took the next couple seconds of his hitching breath to check the clock a few minutes before midnight. This was going to be a night she could still catch up on her sleep, or it was going to be a very, very long night with many repeated interruptions. There was really no in-between whenever David started up this early. Come on, honey, tell me what it is so we can take care of it together. This set him off again instead of calming him down. The only words she could make out were no and not going back in there. So this was going to be a long night. She took him firmly by the shoulders this time. He shook in her grasp, but she didn't shake him. Maybe that was a fine line, but she damn well knew which side of it she was on. Still, he needed to get it together because they had school and she had work and 6 hours counting prep time. Stop it right now. Tell me what's wrong. We both need our sleep. Let me put a comma there. And we are doing that in our own beds. So tell me now what's wrong, or get over it and go back. To that, David shook his head hard from side to side as he pulled away from her hands, but not toward her open door. What is it, David? Say it. The clown is back. She did her best not to roll her eyes at her frightened son, but she failed. Which clown is that? He had a few such imaginary visitors over his short years. Let's say over the stretch. Over the stretch of his short years. The same one, Allie's clown. He's back. I can hear him laughing through the wall. Okay. He's back, let's say, from the closet. I can hear him laughing through the wall. She's probably just talking in her sleep, honey. It happens. I saw him. I saw him. Maggie paused at that, not because she believed Allie really did have a magic clown coming out of her closet from time to time, but because David was so set in his declaration tonight. Let's go take a look, and then I'll rub your back a little before you go back to... I'm not going back in there, David declared. I'll sleep in one of the closets, not her closet, but I'm not going back there. This was new. Not the fear of Allie's imaginary clown friend, but his level of terror was new. Okay, David, I'm going to check on her, so if you don't come with me, you will be in here alone. Okay. That flat response gave Maggie pause as well. She was sure that would work to get his feet moving, but instead of coming to her side, he backed up to the wall beside her lamp and stared past her at the door. Maggie started to say, David. She stared into his wide eyes a moment and then turned away. As she entered the dark hallway, with the shallow splatter of light from the Bluebird nightlight between the bathroom and the kids' rooms, David piped up. This needs to be 1P. David piped up. Close the door behind you. She did not, and he didn't move from his spot against her far wall to do it himself. Then she heard the laughter. It was high, shrill, and tittery. It was definitely Allie, about 5 years older than David and halfway done with middle school. She had to be asleep. None of that slowed down Maggie's heart. Maybe David had a point, but she wasn't about to start letting him sleep in her bed now. It would never end if she allowed it once. Let's say, I'm going to add here, she was sure. She was dead sure. It would never end if she allowed it, let's say, even once. As she continued on, the sleepy mutters followed behind her. The sleepy mutters followed the laughing. Behind her daughter's door. With her hand on the knob, a man's voice came muffled, and she froze again. It wasn't terribly deep, but that wasn't Allie unless she was affecting in some manner that Maggie had never heard before. She probably needed to cut David some slack tonight with those noises. Then there was definitely two voices laughing over one another beyond the door. Maggie slung it open. Maggie slung it open and turned on the light. All right. Okay, got to sleep now, Jay. Good to see you, Kedman. I look forward to seeing you again. All right. Okay. Beyond the door, Maggie slung it open and turned on the light. Allie was sitting up in her bed with her back to the wall and let out a little cry as she covered her eyes. All right, this is going to be where I need to add some stuff in a minute. Covered her eyes with her fists against the harsh introduction of full light. It was that damn clown that had all of Maggie's attention, though. His face was indeed painted in grease, white along with cracked shapes in blue and red with some black outlines. There might have been other colors too, but her eyes were adjusting to the light as well. He gave her a wide, painted smile that made her weak down the center of her body. He wasn't really painted like the Joker or the nightmare clown from the Stephen King movies, but he certainly exuded aspects of all those terrifying characters. Let's say all those types of terrifying characters, because I only mentioned two clowns, so I would have to say both otherwise. There was something else too, a thing none of those cartoon fantasies could match. This man in clown makeup, all right, is this a, nope, Clown makeup in her daughter's room at midnight was real. All the silly movie terror that Hollywood could invent did not match the horror of seeing a real man violating a place where your children slept, with patches of human skin showing through where sweat and fingers might have smeared makeup away from his face. It was terrifying in a John Wayne Gacy sort of way. Probably have John misspelled there, but I'm going to check it later. She felt a certainty that she was going to be hurt or maybe die here tonight, and likely her children would follow, but Maggie's muscles tightened into murderous springs as she prepared to do all she could to stop him from going past her life to do any more harm. She would gouge out his eyes. She would bite into his greasy, painted throat. Maggie was seconds or less from injuring him in every way possible, with no interest in protecting her own life in the process. Let me add a "the" in there. I got a dropped word. The clown, wearing a funny black hat and holding a shiny black cane, rose into the air almost to the ceiling as he folded his legs into a seated position in the air under him. Let's say in midair. In midair under him. That took all the coiled danger out of Maggie in an instant. He held out a white gloved hand, not holding the cane, and said, "I saw it in your eyes, and I respect it deeply, but that won't be necessary tonight." Allie gave out a little laugh, a giggle that was younger than her years. "This is Pound Foolish, Mom. He came for a visit." Let's make this a little darker. He came for another visit. So we're implying that he's been here before. Not what you want to hear if you are the parent in this particular story. All right, Maggie backed into a dresser as her knees tried to give out on her. Trophies from activities Allie had abandoned long ago rattled against each other as the dresser bore Maggie's sagging weight. "That's not entirely true," Pound Foolish said as he floated down from the ceiling with his legs still folded. "Allie called me to make a little wish." I want you to leave my house," Maggie said, barely above a whisper. Pound Foolish continued speaking as if Maggie had said nothing at all. "I'm not some sort of genie or wish granter by trade, but I've been known to see a thing through from time to time." "Get out of her room," Maggie yelled as she stood back up fully on legs that supported her, let's say again, and then screamed at the floating clown, "Get away from her." Before both her children spoke at once from opposite sides of the house. David called out, "Mommy, Mommy, are you okay?" From the sound of his voice, he had moved from her room out into the hallway again. What level of courage that must have taken. What levels of courage, I'm going to say. What levels of courage that must have taken, let's say, for him to do. All right. At the same time, Allie spoke more quietly. "Mom, he's a friend. It's fine." Pound Foolish floated down to Allie's bed and almost lighted next to her on the rumpled sheets. Maggie charged forward and put both fists into his upper chest before he could land. She felt his collarbones under her knuckles like any real man might have. As he propelled backward, let's say, and weightless, in the air, she smelled an earthy mix of makeup and sweat. Instead of mix, let's say musk. That's a little darker. All right. Pound Foolish said "wee" like it was great fun as he flipped over, bounced off a wall. Got a typo there. So he bounced off a wall, leaving, okay, need a comma, leaving a white streak on one of Allie's posters, and landed on his feet in the center of the room. All right, I need to remember that white streak is there for later. "Mom," Allie scolded. Maggie stepped between her daughter and the clown, which was exactly where she wanted to be, as long as he was still here, magic or not. Let's say her daughter's closet hung open, and several boxes and clothes strung out from the opening across the room. Okay, across the room. Let's say, oh, let's make sure that's spelled right. Across the room, some hangers. Let's say some empty hangers. Still swung on the bar, as others, have I used the word scattered? No. Scattered out with the clothes. The light was on in there, and it flickered as Maggie stared at it, at the space. That's where he came from, she thought. Her mind stuck on the image of him sneaking into the house and crouching in there, waiting for everyone to go to sleep. She wasn't yet at the point of accepting that her daughter's closet was some sort of portal passage for this being to travel. Alright, so that's pretty good. We'll continue on here. I need to call up closets again before the story's over, though. As she darted her head to spy David cowering in the hall, Pound Foolish gave out a loud, rippling fart as his weight settled into his oversized shoes on the bedroom carpet. Maggie glanced at Allie behind her in time to see her daughter cover her mouth to stifle another childish giggle. Pound Foolish lifted his hat off of a wide, bald patch that was also greased over white, and he bowed as if that were quite a performance. Maggie brought up both tight fists in front of her. "I'll see this thing through for you, Allie, as you have wished. Leave her alone. Leave," Maggie demanded. He swept toward the door, and Maggie took a step toward him. He gave a low laugh that seemed to carry humor and none at all at the same time. "You're a tiger, Maggie. I'm a motherfucking tiger." Leave. "I am, dear, I am." "David, get back," Maggie yelled as she followed behind the clown, but David stood his ground at the edge of the turn where Pound Foolish would need to go in order to leave, if in fact he was using doors like an ordinary human. Let's say, and not closet portals. Okay. Light from the blue bird spilled over her son's skin in sinister ways. "Thank you," Allie called from her bed. "Your wish is my command," he said as he paused beside David. David growled, "Get away from my mother and sister." "Good man," Pound Foolish said as he obeyed and made his way to the front door. David, which I have misspelled here. All right. David grabbed his mother's side and squeezed painfully as grabbed his mother's side in a hug and squeezed painfully as she watched the clown's retreating back. He wasn't gone yet. "What did you wish?" Maggie heard herself say. The clown laughed as he opened the door and stepped out into the chilly night without closing it back behind him. David let go of her and moved toward the front door. Maybe he intended to close it behind the clown, but she grabbed her son's shoulder before he could go to do it. "Allie, what did you wish? What is he going to do?" Her daughter rolled over in her fully lit room and pulled up her sheets. "Don't worry about it, Mom. It's none of your business." Now that sounded age appropriate, but Maggie wouldn't accept it. Not tonight. Not after seeing this nightmare clown was real. "Allie, tell me." The girl gave no answer, but David said, "It's Vanessa. She wished him on Vanessa." Allie shot bolt upright in her bed and cried out, "You little tattletale." With all the adrenaline-soaked shock... All right, I need to make that hyphenated. With all the adrenaline-soaked shock of the night, it took Maggie a few seconds to process what she had heard. Vanessa was a kid who lived across the street and down a few houses. She was one grade higher than Allie and a bit of a mean girl bully, even though they had been somewhat friends years ago. Maggie didn't care for Vanessa's parents almost as much as Allie now loathed Vanessa. "What did you send that clown to do?" Maggie demanded. Allie rolled her eyes and started to lay back down. "No, you tell me right now. I swear you will regret it your whole life if you don't answer me now, little girl." Allie froze up and stared at her mother with wide eyes. Maggie expected David to tell her the rest, but Allie came forth with a voice younger than her age. It was just, she's so mean to me." "What did you tell that thing to do to Vanessa? Tell me right now." Small voice again to go with Allie's shrinking posture. "I just wished for him to take care of her." "What does that mean?" Allie gave hound dog eyes. Okay. Let's say her mother demanded. Allie gave hound dog eyes, but no answer. Maggie persisted. "What does that mean?" All right. David clutched his mother even harder. Let's say clutched his mother again even harder. "I think he's going to kill her, Mom." Maggie moved toward the open front door where the chill had invaded deep into the house. "Mom, no, don't go. Stay here with us. Please don't go out there." Maggie had to pry her son's arms off her and even shove him backward a little. Allie called from her bed, "Mom." Maggie ran the rest of the way out of her house. "You two stay inside and stay together." This time she closed the door. Pound Foolish must have been strolling because he was still outside Vanessa's family's front door as Maggie ran diagonally through the street. But that didn't last long, as one more kick from an oversized shoe blasted the door inward in 3 pieces, away from the deadbolt and the hinges. Screams drifted out of that open doorway as Maggie charged across the lawn and inside. Now she wished the neighbors would wake up to call the police. It wasn't really that kind of neighborhood, though. They were more the kind that would come out to watch as the police cleaned up the mess later. Maggie followed the screams, turning on lights as she went. She had no idea where the girl's room was, nor what she could do about it when she found it. She stood in the doorway of the master bedroom as Pound Foolish pinned Vanessa's father up against a broken patch. Say a broad broken patch in the drywall behind his back. The man was the one crying and screaming. Pound Foolish used the tip of his black cane to wipe the tears out from under the grown man's eyes as the other gloved hand held the large man off his feet and firm against the wall. All right. Small word, small detail, but I think it adds something. "Shh," the clown hissed. Vanessa's father went silent in shock. The clown said, "That's better, and this will all be better soon." Maggie stepped forward to do something. She wasn't sure what exactly, but something needed to be done. "What did you do to the girl?" Pound Foolish glanced over his shoulder at her. The man against the wall showed his teeth and tried to throw a few punches. He knocked off the clown's hat and smeared a couple spots down to human-colored skin, but otherwise the blows had no effect. Through a broad smile, Pound Foolish addressed her. "Look at you, Tiger. What did you do to her?" "I'm taking care of her like the wish demanded. You're a monster. The world is full of them." The clown turned back on the man and drove his white forehead into the man's face over and over. The wall crumbled as the man was driven deeper into it. White paint, pink insulation, and bright red blood covered his face. The nose twisted, the eyes closed up, and the teeth stuck to the ruined paint on Pound Foolish's head. The pounding continued. Like the clown was using his own skull as a hammer. All right. Good stuff. Let's keep going. What's happening? Why is this happening? Maggie whirled around to see Vanessa in sweatpants and an old t-shirt that was too big for her. Maggie held out her arms to the unharmed girl, who came to her and held her as tight as David had. Maggie turned the girl away from the violence. "Where's your mother?" All right, I need to change that to the contraction because this is a heated situation. "Where's your mother?" "I don't know. She didn't come home. Sometimes she does that." Maggie turned to see the clown staring at her again as he still held up the crying pulp that used to be this girl's father. "He's a hitter," Pound Foolish said. "Very brave when the target is too small to fight back. Many guys like him are, as I'm sure you know." Instead of "know," I'm going to say "remember." That makes it a little darker. "As I'm sure you remember." "What are you doing?" she growled at him. "I'm taking care of her, just like the wish called for. I'm seeing a thing through. Sometimes there's only one way to convince a monster that his reign of terror is ended. Only one way to get him to stop passing on his mean streak, like a psychic disease." I'm going to say infection. That has a little more punch. Like a psychic infection. "Let him go," Maggie said. "Just stop this." Pound Foolish frowned, and Maggie hated that more than his madman smile. Take it from a monster who knows, Tiger. This one has to go. He has to go all the way down. I'm taking this one with me. As if on cue, from in her peripheral, the closet door to this bedroom. Okay, I need to spell closet correctly. I'm in the home stretch here, so we're about done. As if on cue, in her peripheral, the closet door to this bedroom swung open with a crash. A couple slats broke out. A couple slats broke out as the door rebounded. Clothes and hangers blew out across the room like leaves on a storm. Red light glowed murder bright from the depths of that shallow closet. Then voices, whispers, giggles, carried out from that space and whatever lay beyond it on that devilish light. All right. I never want to see you again, Maggie said. I'm no genie, Pound Foolish told her over the moans of the man with the ruined face and the giggles of whatever demons lived beyond this world inside the closet. I'm not about the business of wish granting as a rule. I will see a thing through when a thing needs doing. It needs doing, though. Alright, good stuff. Okay, the clown released the man's body and let him crumple to the floor, beaded with spattered blood. Say the clown levitated an inch, say an inch or 3 off the ruined carpet, but then settled back down with gravity, as if the floating were unintended reflex. Okay, let's break that into 2 paragraphs there. Now we'll press forward here. Pound Foolish took up his hat and settled it back on his head, covering... Okay, I need to have a comma there. Covering the loose teeth stuck to his brow. Let's say still stuck. Still stuck to his brow. Alright, good stuff. Maggie expected that to be it, and she started to release the girl, but then the clown lifted his cane over his head and went to work again. The black cane whistled through the air, and each meaty impact came with the crack of bones. I don't want to be here anymore, Vanessa cried into Maggie's chest. Maggie walked her down the hall toward the missing front door and away from the bloody bedroom. Pound Foolish laughed high, shrill, and tittery in the voice that sounded too much like Allie's. All right. The demon voices, let's say the demon choir from the closet, harmonized with this murderous creature beating Vanessa's father to death and maybe taking him away to some darker place. All right. Good stuff. Let's keep going. Vanessa went with Maggie across the street toward her house willingly enough. Maggie started to wonder how far away they would have to get before the laughter would die out. Okay, so this is where we're going to add something. The door was locked, and Maggie beat on it, calling for her children to let her back in. The locks worked on the other side. From the other side, and then the unseen person struggled to get the knob turned and opened. Okay. She knew it was David before he revealed himself. She knew it was David before he revealed himself. Maggie swept Vanessa in with her and took the... Did I misspell something here? Is there only one in Vanessa? There we go. And took the door from her son to lock it back for whatever good that would do. Allie still sat on her bed as Maggie brought Vanessa and... Okay, let's start spelling this right now. Brought Vanessa and David into the mess of her daughter's room. Let's say the streak of white paint. Let's say a streak. A streak of white paint. Marred one of her daughter's posters. Let's say one of Allie's posters. And the clothes. No, let's do this. Let's say Allie no longer. Allie no longer sat on her bed as Maggie brought Vanessa and David into the mess of her daughter's room. A streak of white paint marred one of Allie's posters. Her daughter was finishing up hanging her clothes back in the closet. Maggie swallowed a couple times. Someone is killing Vanessa's father. The girl covered her face with both hands and dropped to the floor. Okay, I need to do this. Alright, new paragraph. We're almost done. The girl covered her face with both hands and dropped to the floor beside Allie's bed. Allie clutched the last couple items of hanging clothes against her body. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Maggie stopped herself again. She was going to ask, "Are you?" But she was going to ask, "Are you?" But she had already set Vanessa to crying. Allie, I need to call the police. Will Vanessa be safe here? Just the three of you. Will the three of you be safe here? Maggie glanced at the white paint. The white paint streak, at the closet, and back to her daughter. Allie swallowed. And nodded. Nothing else will happen here. Nothing like this ever again. I promise. Maggie hesitated to leave the room. She needed to call the police and bring them, even if she could tell none of the true story. Noises, screams, a broken door, violence, and brought the daughter back here to call the police. That had to be enough because no other details of the night would ever make sense. What had Vanessa seen? What would she tell? What had Vanessa seen? What would she tell? Would they all have the same story? What would be left to find once the police arrived? Sirens rose in the distance, but Maggie went to call anyway, as she wondered what she and the children could make of the world after all this. As she picked up the phone, she saw her children. No, she doesn't need to see it. We just say it's there. She picked up her phone. Her children settled in on both sides of Vanessa and held her, let's say, and all held each other as they cried. Let's change this sheet to Maggie. Maggie also wondered what was to be done with her own daughter that had somehow summoned all of this.